Hello everybody, so today we're going to be looking at web scraping using a one-liner, and rather than just show you a tutorial with this solution, what I thought I would do would be show you a problem. I'll show you one way of solving it, and then I'll set a challenge at the end, so pay attention. This is slightly tongue-in-cheek because I'm using some Microsoft clip art, and yeah, here we go. So Microsoft, eat your heart out. Web scraping one-liner, not for soy devs. If you don't know what soy dev is, I'll get to that shortly. So what are we doing? We are looking at, let me just go to the next page. Okay, well already you can see that I'm not actually a boomer, but I forgot how to go to the next page on a PowerPoint presentation. So here we go. Okay, boomer. After watching, I don't know if any of you have watched or follow Luke Smith on YouTube. He's really good at using Linux command line, automating his workflow. I don't really like that word, but for want of another word. So he automates stuff using Linux, and yeah, he uses lots of words like boomer, zoomer, and doomer, and I don't really know the definitions of those words. And rather than look up all the words that I didn't know, I thought, well, if any of you know Urban Dictionary, go to that and check it out. So what I started researching was how I could automate a text browser, and I came across w3m. w3m is a free software, open source text-based web browser and terminal pager. It has support for tables, frames, SSL connections, color and inline images on suitable terminals. Generally, it renders pages in a form as true to their original layout as possible. And I thought, well, why don't I use this as a little Raspberry Pi project and go real minimalist on this. So if you've not seen it before, this is w3m. Now, this is obviously the Google homepage, and the beauty of this is that you can use it via the command line. You don't have to effectively render it. So don't be a soy dev. Don't be like these people. Don't have lots of trendy haircuts and sit in a big glass office unless you have to. The emphasis of this is on minimalism, and I know most of you are here to learn code, learn about web scraping, but I just thought I'd discuss, just for a few seconds if you don't mind, the whole point of being a developer is you can always be productive, you can keep learning. There's no limit to how much you can learn, and you can be home-based if that's of a benefit to you. You can save on coffee, train fares, clothing, and also be minimalist. If you can be minimalist, it doesn't mean do less work. What it means is, I'll let you decide what it means, but to me it means reduce any unnecessary clutter, and that applies to code as well. So let's see how we can declutter our code, and where I'm going with this is that this is going to be a one-liner, and it's going to be a one-liner using w3m in bash. So it's not even a Python script. I don't even open up Python. And I know this is a Python channel, but what I want to discuss is when to use Python, when not to use Python, how to solve a problem using any language, and at the end you'll get to the little surprise, which is a challenge. So anyway, okay, boomer. Again, I wanted to look at boomer, zoomer, and doomer. And if you look at Urban Dictionary, you've got urbandictionary.com/define PHP ? Term equals. and then OK, and then percentage is the space, and then you got boomer. So by manipulating the query string parameter, you can then search for whichever term you want, and you can automate it. Now, that's the key thing. You can automate your searches. So, next page. Log on to your Linux, Unix, whatever machine you can run w3m on. So I'm going to run it on my Raspberry Pi. So without further ado, I've logged in. I'm at the command prompt. Once I'm there, sudo apt get install w3m. And do you want to do all this? So yeah, say yes. And once you've installed w3m, next thing you need to do, or that I'm doing for this little mini project, again, I'm using Vim because I want to. Just add in each search term. So each of those words will be one query on Urban Dictionary. And as you saw, so boomer, doomer, zoomer. So each of those words will appear. Can you see where the yellow text is in the URL at the top? So it will be after the equals. So it will say term equals and then one of those three words, which we will need to obviously pass as a variable. So how do we do that? The one-liners at the top, but I'm just going to go through each of the separate commands that you need to do and you pass the output from one command to the next using pipe. If you're not familiar with Linux or Unix, pipe command just takes input and then passes it to the next command. So cat urls.txt, which was my text file with boomer, doomer, zoomer. And then while read line, so what it's going to do is it's just a while loop, and while there's a line there to read, it wants to do this. And the syntax for using w3m is basically w3m followed by the URL. And this is obviously not a standard URL because I've put a variable on the end, and this is bash syntax. So if you're not familiar with bash, yeah, you prefix a variable with a $sign and then you use the curly braces. Now, hopefully already you're thinking, how can I do this in Python? And we'll get to that in a minute. I'm not going to show you the solution, by the way. It's just just think how that would be possible. Once it's got the page, so it gets all of the page as an object, if you like, and then we want to grep, and we're going to grep all of that text. So the output from w3m, we're going to pass to grep, and then we're going to use grep, which grep stands for greedy regular expression parser. So whenever you think of grep, just think of grep as regular expression. And then the single greater than sign is standard output, write the variable to a text file. And if you wanted to append, then you would use two of those. And then at the end, you need to use done. So this is the output. And if I do ls star oomer.txt, and then I do list them by time -lt, you can see I've got a big bunch of text, and I've got, what have I got? I've got boomer. So it's grepped. The output of the first one is boomer. Then doomer and zoomer. So doomer, he became a doomer after his girlfriend left him. Oh dear. Zoomer is someone who's young. Boomers often refer, oh dear, sorry. Boomers often refer to young people as zoomers. Okay, so doomer is somebody who's miserable. Boomer is somebody from an older person born between 1944 and 1964. And zoomer is a young person who presumably just zooms around. Right, here we go. So how can you write this as a one-liner in Python? I'm not going to show you a solution, and at a future point I'll do another video perhaps with one possible solution, but I just wanted to show you how to... Sometimes you don't have to write code yourself, and that's important because you won't always have the possibility to write code. You may be restricted, you may be on a jump server. For instance, if you're working, for instance, for a large company, large organization, then SSH connects to a jump server, which is on a client's network. You may not be able to run Python, but you can always run Bash and terminal. So it's always good to have an awareness of other languages. And whilst this channel's about Python, you can't just live in a bubble. So be aware of Bash, be aware of C. For instance, if you Google for it, there's a video on YouTube where it shows the relative speed or the relative performance of doing a for loop from up to 10 million using while, for in Python, so while in Python, for in Python, and then using a NumPy array. Now, the NumPy array absolutely smashes it out of the park. I think the while loop is 12 seconds, the for loop is 6 seconds, and the NumPy array is 0.1 seconds or something like that. And NumPy is written in C, so really Python is just passing data, passing variables as parameters to the compiled C program, and which then passes the output back to Python, which then displays it on the screen. And you think it's all happening in Python, but really it's not. It's a compiled C program, NumPy, which is doing all the work very quickly. So don't always assume that Python, as soon as you open up Python, everything is the same speed, everything is going to be the same performance. So I think that's probably about it for now. I think hopefully I've given you some food for thought, and I'm just going to finish off with my tongue-in-cheek how do you say it? PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. And don't forget, if you go to my website, I'll always be putting notes, and that's where you can go and you can copy and paste some of my code and experiment. And I've got a link to my GitHub page and yeah, all that good stuff. So and to keep it minimalist, I just thought I would type exit at the end. So yeah, thanks for watching. And command line, one-liners, experiment. There's a Python book which I've talked about before, Python one-liners, which I really liked. I'm still trying to work my way through it. It's very good because it starts off at kind of intermediate level, but it gradually gets quite it gets quite challenging, should we say. And what else? Oh yeah, I mean one of my web scraping heroes, CodeMonkey King, he went really minimalist and started using Scrapy, doing massive Scrapy one-liners, and that's amazing because just one line, you don't need to open up loads of text files and so on. So yeah, one-liners, wherever you can use a one-liner, try it. It's not always the most readable. So yeah, as they say in England, it's horses for courses. And hopefully you now know what a boomer, a doomer and a zoomer is. So w3m, Bash, Python, it's all good. Just use it, experiment, and don't forget the challenge. If any of you want to do the challenge, then either put the code in the comments on this video or do your own video and tell me about it. So one-liner to scrape Urban Dictionary using search terms that you've put into a text file. So until next time, thanks for watching. I'll be back with something, who knows, very soon.